G'day guys and welcome back to another episode of the Ads and Dunks podcast, exclusively brought to you by the Ausmerican Aces. We are your hosts. My name's Adam Treloar and of course my best mate Josh Dunkley on the other end. What a massive week we've got here. It's been a big week for both of us. We're both able to hit the winners list, which is extremely exciting. But probably the most exciting thing, it was Easter. Chocolate. We both get to eat chocolate. It was a great week for us, long weekend. So here we go. How are you, Joshy?
I'm good, thanks, mate. You're telling me that you have never eaten chocolate outside of Easter?
Oh, no, I have. But I go a little bit overboard for Easter because Georgie was down actually. So I reckon I almost bought out all of Woolworths. The chocolate. I did a last minute run on the Saturday and I picked up, probably six of the bunnies, picked up a couple of the Easter bags and I definitely stuffed myself with chocolate.
This is a big question because I always think about this. You know how you have like the brands of chocolate of the Easter eggs that you can get? What do you tend to go for?
We're talking purely Easter eggs, right?
Yes.
So we're discounting all other chocolates. Okay. So I would probably go honestly, if I had my choice, I'd go the basic, you probably can't see my hand size, but they're not the really small ones. They're the bigger ones. They're just the basic chocolate Easter egg balls. Nothing on the inside, just that. Dairy milk chocolate. They're my favorite. I think Dairy Milk must be the brand, but it's not like a Ferrero Rocher or any of those brands. It's just the typical Dairy Milk, and it has to be those size. What about you?
Yeah, see, I'm the real small Cadbury chocolate eggs. That's me.
I think actually Cadbury's the brand. I've just said, what did I say? Dairy Milk.
Dairy Milk,
I'm surprised I actually don't even know the chocolate brands, but But yeah, Cadbury, the bigger ones, are probably my favorite. But actually, they did this special edition crunchy Cadbury ones that I've been absolutely smacking post game. Definitely not throughout the week.
You don't have your cheat day or anything like that anymore?
Oh no! When I go to the movies, I have a bit of chocolate, but there's no Easter eggs. I usually get my peanut M&Ms and a couple of Skittles and popcorn. But we're here to talk about footy. We're not here to talk about our chocolate or eating days, are we?
No, we're not, mate. But it was a good weekend. Obviously, you said you had the girls come down, and I know Kimmy and Lara obviously played on Sunday, and Tipper did as well. But they got to see your game, which was good. Obviously, run us through that, mate. Great win over the Tigers at the G. You were talking about last week how it was going to be a tough one, and I suppose Richmond at the MCG is probably no harder test other than probably Melbourne at the moment. So yeah, run us through that game, mate. It was very impressive.
Yeah, it was it was kind of a tale of different quarters, to be totally honest. We started off really well, and then I think we got 5 or 6 goals up, playing some really good footy. And I think it was, as I touched on last episode, it was off the back of how well we were defending. I think we were able to stop them from, really slingshotting the ball from their back half, as they do really well. Their halfbacks get involved, and there's a reason why a lot of teams kind of emulate the way Richmond have played in the past 3-4 years, because they've obviously been the benchmark team. And very pleased with the first quarter, but then they came with a freaking wave. They kicked 8 goals in the span of 10 minutes, I think, in that second quarter. And and I know that you obviously know what it's like playing against the Richmond side, especially when they've got their tails up and they're in front of the Richmond army. It was quite challenging. I think what we did, halftime came at a really good time for us because we were able to really address, issues that we had in that first half. And then, I think the fact that we were able to come out and I guess stick to our guns and go back to the way we were playing in that first quarter and in that first little bit of the second quarter, to be able to defend the way we did in that second half, keep them to 2 goals and still be able to score, the way we did in what was really tough conditions. The weather changed quite a bit at halftime, and I think that played definitely a big factor in what was happening in that third quarter. They weren't able to slingshot, the way they were in the second, because obviously a wet footy, totally different to a dry footy. But give credit to the way we defended, and our high defenders and our midfielders were defending really well. So extremely pumped we were able to get the win in the end, because the last 5 minutes of the game they were really peppering inside 50, and they were almost bound to score a goal, and they did with about 30 seconds to go. So we were fortunate enough to hang on in that last 30 seconds of the game, post that centre bounce. So very pleased that we're able to get the job done. Now we've obviously beaten two really strong sides in obviously your boys, and then Richmond, who are going to be obviously, I think right up there, come towards the pointy end of the season. So it was a nice win. And we don't get to play at the MCG much. I think that might have been my fourth game at the MCG playing for the Western Bulldogs. So being able to do that and then win was very, very nice. Very nice.
It's good, mate. I feel like you're, especially the last couple of weeks, I've noticed the source pressure element of your game, like not yourself, but the whole team in general has been top notch. And we obviously got to experience it last week against you guys. But yeah, the pressure around the source has been a massive factor. And I feel like it could have been one of your focuses going in.
Well, yeah, you're right. I think anyone watching the game or any general fan out there would definitely, notice that that's probably been the biggest change in, the last 2 weeks. And, when I say change, it's not, we don't want it to be a week in, week out thing. Obviously want it to be part of our DNA and how we want to defend and, win the footy back. And I feel like, our footy group and especially our inside midfielders, we definitely play a lot better off the back of our source pressure and being able to win the footy back in dangerous spots. So, yeah, it's definitely been a focus for us and something that, hopefully, off the back of these 2 weeks, we can continue that. We've got a great challenge against Port Adelaide this week in what's going to be, a really special round in the gather round. And, I know you boys faced them round one over there and, it's obviously quite a daunting and intimidating task for anyone travelling to Port Adelaide against, an up and about Port Adelaide side. So, yeah, we'll be really looking forward to the challenge. One that I'm, really looking forward to, and knowing that all the teams are in the same state, so I'll be able to hopefully run into you, which would be nice. Might be able to do a pre-game or the night before pre-game, dinner and whatnot like we used to. It was a good win. What about you? I've seen, obviously seen you guys obviously got a win, but it wasn't obviously against, nobody. It was against probably what everyone is tipping as the premiership favourites early on in the season. You obviously came up against them firsthand, and you obviously seen their strengths and their weaknesses as well. How'd you find it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a tough game. I feel like the way that they came out, it was a bit like, whoa, like they're pretty good, the Pies, and they kicked away early in the first quarter. I think they were up by a couple of goals at quarter time, but I felt like we probably weren't going as well, around the source and outside of that, and guys like Nick Dacos and their high half backs got on a run and they were getting good access inside 50. So we really needed to negate that part of their game. And, I think a big focus for us was just to, the source pressure was obviously a big element to it, but I think to come forward to defend because they like to chain the Pies through, all conditions, and even if it's raining or it's slippery, they'll still try and do it, and they just try and handball and get their running game going and get those high defenders, as I mentioned, into the game. So it was a tough one up until the second quarter, and then we got our mojo back. I feel like we started to get a good score on the scoreboard and connect inside 50 and really win that territory battle, which caught a few of their players out at times. And it was very impressive to be out there in that second quarter and just see the boys go to work, and Charlie Cameron, Cam Rayner obviously played forward and took a few nice marks and kicked a couple of ripping goals. So it was a great. I think we went into halftime really on a positive note, and everyone was really up and about. And then to go away in the second half and still work our way through it. But I think the way that we were able to run the game out was very impressive. And as you mentioned, playing against the Pies, who were one of the most highly rated teams this year and have been going really well. So to get the win against them was awesome. And like we touched on earlier, it was the first Easter Thursday game I've played in. I've normally played in the Good Friday games with the Doggies at Marvel Stadium against North. So it was nice to be in front of a packed house at the Gabba, mate, and I'm very thankful for all the fans turning out. But obviously we repaid them with a win too. So it was a nice little weekend to enjoy a win. And as you were talking about earlier, you guys got the win too. So it was nice to have an Easter with a big smile on your face, mate. It's good.
Yeah, well, it definitely looked like that. From the outside, touching on the game that you just spoke about, the pressure side of the things, because with Collingwood, they're going to just go at all costs, and when they get the opportunity to go, if they can turn the ball over, they outnumber you and really slingshot it the other way. So you're spot on with what you're saying. Do you think now that you've played against the Maggies, and you've seen them up close. And I obviously know you won the game, but each week we talk about teams that are surprising us and whatnot. But commonly we've mentioned how good Collingwood are. Do you? Again, I know you've beaten them, but do you see how they're going to be a hard team to beat? Come the point in the season, can you see why teams or why people are regarding them as one of the best teams in the competition, if not the best team?
Yeah, I think so. I think you can definitely tell that their ball users and the way they move the footy is very electric, and then they can get a really good run on. I feel like our game today is so much. It's a game of momentum, and when a team gets on top, as you touched on with Richmond in that second quarter, like the Pies, they at times felt like, geez, we might be in trouble here, or they might kick a few. And we were probably lucky a couple of times they didn't take their opportunities in front of goals, because they would have got some important goals that would have maybe kept them in it. But I can definitely see that they're going to be a great side and very tough to beat. Obviously, we were able to get the win on Thursday night, but I feel like the way that they play and they take the game on, they don't really care if they muck it up, which I think is really important when you're trying to teach younger players and people to have the confidence to just take the game on. It's one of those things that if you mess it up, well, so be it. Let's just die trying.
Yeah, well, they're an unbelievable team to watch. They definitely keep you on edge of your seat when you're watching from the very first minute to the end of the game. Definitely one of the most exciting teams. But speaking of exciting, what about you mentioned him before, Charlie Cameron? Not only his game, because his game was unbelievable. He was, him and Cam Rayner, I think, in my opinion, were probably two of the best players on the ground. But that step in the last quarter that he did, where I don't think the camera could even pick it up. Firstly, how good was that? And secondly, do you actually think he could play a position in the NFL? Probably the running back or the wide receiver position.
If there's anyone to play a position in the NFL, it'd be Charlie Cameron. Like the way that he moves, like that was just a small sample size of what I've seen all preseason and since I've been here. Even playing against him over the years, like you see how good he is and how quick he is. Turns on a dime. Like it's unbelievable attributes that he's got, and he's so electric, mate. And he's such a great bloke too, which is awesome and makes it fun around the club. I know we saw his the goal where he sort of ran past and signalled the too small thing, which is funny as
you can't guard me. That's what it is. That's where it came from the NBA, where players would score on him and they do that little sign where you can't guard me.
I thought it meant that you were too small.
Oh yeah, but I think it more means because it came upon when Montrezl Harrell. This is what I remember. He's like an undersized center. He used to out rebound bigger centers and all that stuff. And he used to do the old too small sign, which I used to think was kind of referencing himself or people saying that he was too small. And now I think it's kind of blossomed off that. And when you beat someone one-on-one, you always do that. Like when I play a bit of one-on-one basketball in the off-season with a few of my mates, I do the too small sign, even though I'm not bigger than anybody. If you were to pick between, you mentioned Nick Dacos and how good he was on the weekend. If you had to pick between Nick Dacos and a guy that I know we've both talked about on this podcast and we both believe is best player in the comp in Jeremy Cameron, who, again, had an unbelievable game. I think he had 22 and kicked 6 or whatever it was. If you had to pick between one of those two now, who would you pick?
Oh, for me, it's a no-brainer, mate. I'd pick Jeremy Cameron. I feel like we've always talked about him on here being, obviously the person that he is off field and giving his all to everyone out there. But the way that he can just set up the game on the field is just incredible, mate. So good. Like I watched him again yesterday, and it's weird. You feel like if he's out of the game, he just gets himself in the game by running up the field, getting the ball, and then using it well, and then ripping back to goal, and then all of a sudden he's on the end of it kicking a goal. It's unbelievable the way that he can do it. I was trying to think, like, how would he feel? How does he feel when he's running out there? Do you reckon he just runs out there like he's just got that mindset of, I'm just going to be best on ground today? Yeah.
Yeah, well, knowing Jezza, because I've played with him for 5 years, I definitely feel like that's kind of the belief that he does. And it's not an arrogant thing. It's just, this is how good I am. This is the way I go about it. He's just so damn good.
What about you?
I agree with that. No, I agree with that. I'd go Jezza. And that's obviously no disrespect at all to Nick Dacos because he's unbelievable. I mean, he's leading the coaches voting at the moment. So, yeah, he's having an incredible season. as you said, the thing that impressed me with Jezza is he's able to involve himself in the game if he's gone missing for a bit, if the balls are coming down inside forward 50, whatever it may be. I've seen him go to centre bounce and be a centre bounce player and win a clearance. As you said, he gets the ball at half back. And this is a genuine question. Who do you think is the best field kick in the game? Because I'd almost say Jez is the best field kick in the game as well. Because some of the kicks that he pulls is unbelievable.
Yep, I agree. You probably talk about a couple of your teammates.
Yeah, yep.
CD,
Bailey Dale,
Digger.
Caleb Daniel. Yep. I think Dustin Martin, I've seen him up close again on the weekend, and he was back to his absolute best, which is always great to see. Some of his kicking is unbelievable. I think Dane Zorko, unbelievable field kick as well. But yeah, Jez's field kick, unbelievable, mate. Unfreaking believable. I think that how many games? There's been 4 games. I reckon he's got 2 best on grounds in the Brownlow medal. And I know he played the Gold Coast in Dave Swallow's 200th, and I reckon he could sneak a 1 or a 2 here or there because he was unbelievable that game as well. He could genuinely win the Brownlow.
Yeah, I kind of hope that he does. I kind of hope someone like that does. It'd be awesome for not only the competition, but I think the widest sporting community for a non-midfielder to win a Brownlow would be awesome.
That would be unreal. Speaking of awesome, I wanted to quickly mention this with your game and Charlie Cameron. One more thing. I like how you guys do a song when you kick a goal. But I seen someone say this funny comment. It must have been one of the Collingwood fans say, I won't get sick of hearing what song is Charlie Cameron's song? John Denver.
Country Road.
And I've seen one of the Collingwood fans say, I'll never get sick of hearing that. I'm going to get sick of hearing that song. Far out. Unreal that you guys
It's
do
pretty
that.
cool.
What's your song?
My song?
Yeah.
Have a guess.
Whoa, I'm going to say The Gambler. You know The Gambler by, I think Kenny Rogers sings that.
Nah, it's Wagon Wheel.
Oh, yeah. Do they give you a option, or can you go literally anything? Can you do rap or
anything you want, mate? Anything you want.
Surely there's some funny ones out there.
Yeah, I don't know. There's probably some backs that would never think about getting on the scoreboard that would have some funny ones.
Maybe we should do that at Marvel. That'd be funny.
Speaking of Marvel, what about Jakey Stringer's barrel on the weekend?
Oh,
did you see that?
No. Yeah, well, it wasn't just the fact that it wasn't like a set shot barrel. He did it on the run. It's
on the run.
Impressive. Yeah. He definitely shut some doubters out.
I feel like that's the way the world these days, mate. Everyone can get on top of someone and then they come out and dominate, and then there's no more noise for a few weeks, and then all of a sudden it might come back at some point. But it's just, I don't really buy into it too much, to be honest. Because
Jakey Stringer's at his best. He's still as damaging and as explosive as anyone in the league. It's just because, he comes back to preseason and he's like me. He's one of those guys that probably isn't built for preseasons. That's what I don't train in the preseason much. You commonly give me slack about it.
You never do a preseason, mate, but that's all right. You're just getting old.
True. But then, you forget that people forget how good these players are, and he comes out and dominates. It's good to see. Speaking of barrels, though, have you ever been involved in one where, like in a game where it's been, whipped out in a game and you've gone, whoa, have a look at that.
A barrel?
Yeah, in a game. Have you been involved in one? AFL game, that is.
Oh, yeah. Like when someone's kicked out from full back and it's just been a massive barrel to the middle of the ground. I feel like I've had that before.
Who would have done that? Oh, so you don't really remember one?
I don't. No, not really. It doesn't stand out.
I remember one. I got a good one. I remember. I think it might have been 2019, Collingwood. We were playing St Kilda at the G, and we were up by. Oh, there's 4 minutes ago, and I think we were up. It was about 4 minutes. We were up by about 5-6 goals. Game was over, and Jaden Stevenson took a mark on I think the 60-meter mark, and he's gone a barrel. Yep. It's gone in. I reckon it's gone in goalpost high from what I remember. Yeah, and I just remember Bucks laughing in the up in the box. It was quite funny because you wouldn't be doing that if the game's on the line.
I don't even reckon if I was after the siren, I'd have a ping with the barrel. I'd probably make a fool of myself.
Yeah, so would I. I do one of those ones where you try and kick the leather out of it and it goes sideways.
Yeah.
No, I'd be terrible at it. Any teams or any players this round that surprised you at all?
There's a few talking points. I think the Saints obviously gone 4-0 and are looking really, really good. Freo 1-3. 1-3, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, we played against them twice last year in the span of like 3 weeks, I think. When we played them at Marvel, and then they beat us and played them at in the first final when they, we lost. We were up by 40 and they came back, and we seen how good they were firsthand. And I would have been one, and I still believe they, will ultimately find how they want to play and what they want to achieve. So I've got no doubt there. But, yeah, I'm a little bit surprised because I thought, especially early season, they'd be right up there. But, yeah, I've got no doubt they'll be able to bounce back. And we play them in a couple of weeks, so it'd be really good to see when we come up against them.
Yeah, I feel like they're that's probably – and it goes with all the teams really. Like there's obviously the trade that happens, but then you get draftees in as well. Like there's so many moving pieces of the puzzle to fix before you're really going to hit your straps. I think that goes with nearly all the teams out there these days. And it's either if it's new players or it's new coaches or it's new game style or whatever it is, it takes a while to really get going. And obviously the teams that are going well at the moment, like the Saints, are obviously got a kickstart ahead of everyone else. But yeah, I feel like once we get to the middle part of the season, I feel like it's going to really start to shape what it's going to look like post that. But it's obviously a time now for a bit of teething issues and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it seems like this is probably the earliest in a season that I've ever remembered in my 11, 12 years of playing where it seems like every game is that important. And I don't know if that's because it's getting externally from the media told that it's extremely important. But, yeah, as you said, it just seems like every game is so damn important. But us as players, it's like we understand that it's early on in the season. We're still trying to find our, how we want to play, what our best footy is. And, no doubt Freo and, teams like Gold Coast Suns are in the same position. No doubt, they're going through exactly the same thing, trying to find that, what works best for them and how they can play their best footy. But, yeah, they play against each other this week, which will be an interesting game.
Yeah, it does feel like it's like round 23 of the season, and it's like just before the finals and the noise, the media noise that comes out of it's like, it's that important. But I feel like, we're all, as you touched on, we're all in the right frame of mind, which is good.
I think this week's game, because I think Saints are the only undefeated team left. They are, right? Yeah, I think they are.
Yeah.
Yep, because Collingwood, I think, is second or third, but they're playing each other, Collingwood and St Kilda.
That'll be a good game.
Which will be unreal game. I was about to say, where's it at? But I remembered it's the gather round. But I seen today the Saints and the Maggies, their game is scheduled for the last game on the Sunday. Do you reckon? Yes. Do you reckon it should be like a floating schedule for the gather round and potentially be able to move games around?
Yeah, it'd be a pretty good idea. I mean, because to get the biggest crowds and they should get a massive crowd that kind of game, especially for this time of year and where they're positioned on the ladder. They probably didn't know or expect that to be the case. So I don't know. It probably should be a rolling fixture. They probably shouldn't have done it until last week. But then you throw out all the travelling plans of the fans and people that want to go there and spend money to fly over and stay. So it's a bit of a tough one because we all know what it's like. As soon as you want to go somewhere that something's on, the flights are all bumped up and it's tough to do. So I think planning in advance is obviously what people want to do.
That's why you'll be a businessman, Joshy, because you're thinking outside of the box where I'm just thinking the game and putting the best games on. What about the Rising Star race? I know you'll obviously have your opinion, be biased towards your teammate.
Oh, I mean, everyone's talking about Sheasel being he's had a really good first 4 rounds, and North Melbourne have been going pretty well as well. We've obviously played him this week, so he's one that we'll keep an eye out for. But I feel like at the moment he's probably got the chocolates. But I don't know. It's tough. It's tough to really say because obviously as you touched on, I'm right next to Ashy in the midfield, and he's one of my teammates. And what I've seen him do over the preseason and even in game these days is pretty impressive. So I'll still stick by my tip at the start of the year, mate, for Ashy to win it. But I don't know. What do you think?
I think they're the top 2. I think Owens from St Kilda, who I think he won it. He just won the Rising Star nomination for this round. He was really good against us in round 2, and then he played really well last week, and then he's come out and, had a really big game. I think he had 30 and kicked 2. So He'd be right up there as well. It's definitely a reflection of how the Saints boys are going. They're really up and about, and he's playing some really good footy. But yeah, they're probably my top three. It'd be interesting because it's exciting because I don't think there's ever, the last few years. Well, for as long as I've really, again, been around the AFL, there's always been a standout first year player that is going to win the rising star from the very get-go. And I think this year is going to be real close, going to go down to the wire. And I'm excited to talk about it weekly with you because it's going to be one of those topics I think that we'll be able to debate.
It probably will change every week. But like we touched on before, it's only early. So we'll wait and see how it tracks along the year. But we should talk about it every week. That'd be good.
Oh, we will. What about, I wanted to bring up one more thing about lists and, things that we always talk about. Last week we mentioned, I think I asked you the top 4 midfielders in the game or top 3.
Yeah,
I think it was bench, start, and cut. And I said, let's do another one. So I want to do another one because I want to do the forwards because of how Jez is going. I want you to do the top of your head, your 3 best forwards in the competition. And then you got to do start, bench, and cut. I mean, I can go first because I've got mine, but I'm asking you the question.
Yeah, you go first then.
Okay, so my 3 would be Jeremy Cameron, obviously. And I'm going to go ahead and say start straight away. So I'm starting Jeremy Cameron. My second one would be Charlie Curnow. And then because I'm biased and I play with this bloke, I'm going to go Aaron Norton. And then I'm going to bench Aaron Norton and I'm going to cut Charlie Curnow. And that is a hard cut because he's playing some good footy, Charlie Curnow.
Yeah.
It's a hard
This is just a tough question.
because
it's a tough question.
Harry Mackay, Nick Larkey's playing really good footy. There's so many good footy. There's Tom McDonald's had a really good couple of weeks. He kicked 4 on the weekend. There's so many good big forwards out there. But, mate, that's what I want to know. I want to know your 3 forwards.
I'll just do the same as you.
So what's your start, bench, and cut? Is that the same?
Yeah, probably the same. Probably the same.
Cannot wait to do the key defenders next week.
That's it. So, yeah, obviously we're both heading over to Adelaide. We're all heading to Adelaide this weekend. It's going to be a very special time to be in Adelaide, which is nice. And I feel like it's going to be great for not only the community, but us as players to get a bit of a look at. I've obviously been there a fair bit because Tipper's down there, but get a bit of a look at the surroundings and, we don't really get to spend much time there. So to be amongst the community and do some clinics and stuff over the few days that we're there, it's going to be good fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I've seen how it's worked well in the NRL because the NRL do Magic Round, which is obviously very similar to this. They do theirs in Brisbane, I believe. So, yeah, I'm really excited. I'm excited that as I said, we'll be able to run into you and we'll be able to catch up for a coffee and be able to chat. But I really want to know how you're really feeling because I think out of is it 8 games? Out of the 6 games that are on Adelaide Oval, you're one of the teams that isn't on Adelaide Oval. Were you a little bit flat when you found that out?
Well, yeah, probably. But I feel like it's one of those ones. It's sort of like it's going to have that community kind of footy feel to it. I feel like, it's like we used to go to Ballarat. You still obviously this year we'll go to Ballarat, but that feeling of going to a country footy ground where, you get the heart of the game. I feel like the supporters come out and they support you. So at first probably a little disappointed, but I feel like now that it's obviously real for us, it's going to be a good opportunity to really get together and have that country footy feel, which would be great.
Have you actually been to the ground where you're playing?
No, I've only seen pictures. So I don't know if it's been there for too long. I don't know if it's been there for too long. I feel like they're spending obviously a little bit of money on it to get it up and going and looking smick. So, yeah, looking forward to obviously getting there and having a look. I think we have a captain's run on Friday and open session and then some clinics in that after. So looking forward to that and obviously checking out the ground and what sort of is a bit of the unknown, but from what we've been told, it's similar size to the MCG. So, yeah, it's going to be cool.
That's good. Will you be able to watch the other games at all, like potentially on the Friday or even on the Saturday? Because you'll be staying there, obviously, because as you said, we've all got appearances. So even potentially Sunday.
Yeah, well, I could come to your game. You get me some tickets if you want.
Absolutely, mate. Come. It's Libba's 200th, actually. One of your ex teammates and one of my current teammates who we both congratulate him on our potty right now. We love Libba, absolute superstar of the competition, and one of the great teammates you could ever have. And you played more games with him than what I have, and you know firsthand how good of a teammate he is and a much loved person he is. So congratulations to Libba.
Yeah, he's one of those guys, mate, that you know exactly what you're going to get from him every single week, and he's always got your back. And he's one of those blokes that I always looked up to as soon as I walked in the door, and always leads by example, has a crack, puts his head over it, which is what we all love. And even watching from afar, like just the praise that everyone has for him is quite good, and it's just such a highly respected player in the competition, which is and it's a great achievement after what he's been through with his body and all these niggles and stuff that he's had over the years. It's just great to see him play 200 games, and yeah, as you said, congratulations to Tommy the Turbo Liberatore.
I've got no doubt he'll be listening. I'll make sure he tunes into the Ausmerican Aces and he jumps on and has a listen so he gets his little 15 to 20 second of fame. But congratulations to Libba. But we'll touch on your game. You mentioned earlier you're playing the Roos, who obviously playing some really good footy. I know they lost to Carlton on the weekend, but for the first 3 quarters of the game, they were largely in the game and played some exciting footy. How do you see the game unfolding?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one again. I think, as you touched on, they've been really good under Clarko, and the new system obviously has stacked up against some really good opposition. I feel like I watched their game last week against the Blues, and they were in it right until the end. And even at the end, they obviously Carlton kicked away in that third quarter, last quarter, and then they came back towards the end. So they're not giving up, which is a great sign for a young team. And we're going to have to be at our very best. I feel like it's going to be hot around the contest, and they've got some players in there that have been going really well. And obviously Cunnington's the mainstay, and we all know how big a body he's got and how strong he is. And they've thrown in LDU, who's had a really good season so far. So Jai Simpkin and the like. So yeah, they're going to be really good around the footy. So we're going to have to be at our best to take it up to them. And hopefully we can match them or at least beat them at the contest, and then get the ball moving forward, because I feel like if we can get it into our forwards, hopefully they can do the job for us and get a score on the board, which would be great. But as I said, excited to get down to Adelaide, and we're heading down Thursday for a couple of hours before dinner, and then obviously Captain's Run Friday and into the game on Saturday. But you've got the primetime slot Saturday, mate. Obviously playing against Port, who I know is a very good team at home. How are you feeling about that matchup?
Yeah, I'm excited. We're both 2-2, so we're as we touched on earlier, the games are really important. Early on in the season, so really excited about it. It's a shame that where all the teams are in Adelaide, and we fortunately have to play one of the teams that are actually from Adelaide. So it's going to be it's going to be very hostile for us against the Port Adelaide crowd, who obviously really support their side. So yeah, it's one that I'm really looking forward to. You touched on North's midfield. Port Adelaide have a really good midfield through there. They've been able to move the footy really well last week against Sydney. And by the way, that's no easy team to knock off, especially on their own home ground. We played Sydney last year, and they well and truly beat us. So yeah, going to be an enormous challenge for us, but one I feel like we're definitely up for. It's a really good opportunity to see where we're at as a footy group, and we want to play against the best teams on at the best times, and this will be a great opportunity for us to, I think, sustain the way we've been playing, but continue to play, the brand that we want to play, and continue to build on what's been, a really good 2 weeks after obviously a really disappointing 2 weeks prior to that. So, as I said, I'm excited. As you said before, I'm excited to get down to Adelaide and, soak it all in, because, the gather round's obviously a new concept, and I feel like it's going to be one that's going to be around for many years to come, and really excited about the whole build up to it, and then being a part of one of the big games on the Saturday night. So yeah, mate, really looking forward to it. Hopefully, after you get a win, you can send me a message and ask for a ticket, because I'll have one waiting for you to come down and watch your old mob hopefully get the job done. But it should be good.
I should request a room pass for me, mate. I might duck in and see you post game.
Mate, as I've said, you're a premiership player for the Western Bulldogs Footy Club. You're always going to be loved and welcome back there. But no, you obviously your better half is in Adelaide at the moment. Obviously plays for the Thunderbirds. So you've been in Adelaide quite a bit. I've only been there really a couple of times. Is there any what's the best thing about Adelaide? Everyone talks about their wineries.
Yeah, well, the wineries are great. I think I've been to the Barossa. I've been to McLaren Vale. There's a few. Adelaide Hills have obviously got some great wineries, some good cheese places, which I don't know, you don't really like cheese, do you? But
I do.
Yeah, well, yeah, get out to the Adelaide Hills, mate. You might find a place that you really like. But no, it's good. It's obviously the wineries are the talking point of Adelaide, and I feel like that's the mainstay when everyone's talking about it. But to be honest, the thing that impresses me the most is the coastline, the beaches, the sunsets that they have there are incredible. Well, actually very underrated, to be honest.
I think you've sent me a couple Snapchats when we had our Snapchat streak going for the first time that you moved away. We had to Snapchat each other, and I think you sent a couple of sunset photos, which were nice.
And that snap streak ended because of you, didn't it?
I actually don't remember. I mean, I don't really use Snapchat. It was the only reason I was using it was to keep that streak alive. But as I said, that ended. You'd have an enormous streak with Tipper, wouldn't you?
Yeah, we got a pretty good streak going. That's our sort of main form of communication.
Well, I'll make sure I get back on Snapchat as long as you send me some sunset photos and some cheese from the Adelaide wineries. Then we can start it again.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. We'll do that on the weekend then. We'll get a couple of snaps together.
I'm glad because we'll be able to see each other this weekend after hopefully what's going to be a couple big wins for us.
I'll tell you one other thing, touching on Adelaide. The food, it really impresses me. Like the restaurant, you know how I'm a big foodie.
Yeah, you're a massive
I love
foodie.
some of the cafes and restaurants in Adelaide. There's a couple of good ones that I can make mention to if you want.
Yeah, do it privately, I reckon.
All right, let's do it.
No, I'm joking. Mention. Give me a couple Adelaide restaurants.
No. Okay. Why not? There's one called Shibosho. There's one called Show. They're like a sister restaurant. Fish Bank in the city is really good. Osteria Oggi is a really good Italian. It's actually around the corner from our hotel. Maybe we should hit that up, not for a game.
All right, we'll go there. Yep, we will.
Yeah, we could do that. Followed by some Yochi.
I'll let you have the Yochi. I'll have my dessert.
You'll have it. Oh yeah, everyone has to know what your dessert is, please. I really want this to be out there. This is just funny as.
Why? All right, I'll tell you. It's actually not that bad because all right. Well, what I have is typically boys get chocolate and ice cream, and you have your frozen yogurt. If not, you have a couple blocks of chocky. I'll have like 3 or 4 dinner rolls with peanut butter, and I'll just bring the peanut butter tub with me. And I'll scoop the peanut butter on the roll, and I'll just eat the little dinner roll. I'll have like 4 of them.
So while everyone's out getting their
chocolate and ice cream, I'm buying peanut butter tubs.
You're buying a peanut butter tub. Oh, the first time I saw that, I just lost it. It was so funny.
Yeah, no, I don't know why I did it initially because I felt like I needed more carbs before. This is early on in my footy career. I felt like I needed more carbs before dinner. So I didn't know what was a high carb sauce. So the only thing I had was bread. So I thought, I'll just have bread and some peanut butter because I didn't want to have Vegemite or anything with it. So anyway, it stuck and that's what I do. So I'm looking forward to our dinner at that Italian restaurant and then off to get some peanut butter.
Let's do it.
Let's move on. You got nothing else you want to talk about the footy? Oh my God, I'm so glad I remembered this. Is one more thing about footy. One more thing. I just want a brief 20-second answer. Do you think in the AFL, a kick out, so when you run out of a kick out, you're with me? When you run out of a kick out, you get a kick out. Do you think that should be marked down as a disposal?
Short answer, no. I personally think that it's not one that you actually need to measure. I feel like you can actually measure that stat without it being on individual stat lines. It's good that you brought this up because I actually was thinking about this the other night and it just popped into my head. How do you think the game would look if there was no stats for individual players? but they still did all the team stats. So they still do all the team stats. But when you can click on the AFL app and see your individual stats at the end of a game, do you think it would be better for the footy and the way that people are post game win, lose or draw? Or how would you have you thought about that before?
Never in my life. It's a great question. I love how we weren't going to talk about footy anymore. Short answer, yes. I feel like it'd have an enormous difference. I definitely feel like externally away from the footy in terms of media and, you know what it's like. Media can blow up a player and straight away that player is everyone's talking about him, about how good he is or potentially how bad he is, depending on what external sources are saying. And a lot of the time stats are used in it. So it could affect someone negatively and it could affect someone positively. So yes, I think it would change the game enormously. And I feel like in terms of the game itself, definitely. I feel like it'd be totally different because the priorities is winning and the game itself rather than worrying about anything else that is happening.
Like when you're going through the ranks and country footy or whatever, your local footy club, and there's no stats, but people watch the game and they feel like you've dominated or you've gone well, then that's who's gone well. Not, he's had 35 and kicked 3.
Yeah. So he must have gone well. That's 50. Kind of what it's like. Yep.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
So you talk about Brownlow medal votes. I feel like that's how defenders and forwards will get Brownlow medal votes if there's no stats.
Yeah.
Wowee. I like it. I like it. That's actually a tough question. I'd love to know what people think.
It just randomly popped in my head and I was like, I'm going to bring that up on the potty and see what you say. So thanks for bringing that up.
I'm excited to see what people say because I know people like to share their opinions, which is great. But we'll move on from the AFL. It's been a nice 30 or so minutes talking about that. NBA, obviously, hence why I'm wearing this jersey. So I'm wearing an Oklahoma old school Christmas Day jersey, not because I'm going for Oklahoma, but because my favourite player, Kevin Durant, and I don't have any Phoenix Suns Kevin Durant jersey, so I'm going to wear this one. Yes, play-in starts tomorrow. Are you excited about that?
I am, mate. I'm pumped. I actually can't wait to watch the obviously the play-in, but then the playoffs. I'm really keen for it.
Yeah, it feels like the last couple of weeks, and I said this last week, the last couple of weeks of the regular season just go forever because no one's really caring about it anymore because we kind of know who's in the playoffs and whatnot. So I'm pumped that it's here. Did you see yesterday? 2 days ago was the last actual regular season game, or it might have been yesterday. And did you see the amount of offense and some of the scores that were getting put up?
Yeah, unbelievable. It's
Golden State put up 157.
That would be like us scoring 250, I reckon.
You know what I seen? I seen this crazy stat today. There was no team this year score. So in 82 games of every team, so there's 30 teams. I don't know how many games that is. No team scored less than 80 points. It just shows the Steph Curry effect, Dame Lillard effect. 3-point shooting, the amount of scoring that's in our game compared to back when MJ played. He'd be furious.
It's an incredible sport. What about some of the teammates going at each other this week? Rudy Gobert, obviously rubbed out for one game. Could you imagine that happening?
Oh, yeah, I could, but I don't think to that degree. Like, I've obviously been involved, or I've seen teammates argue, but a lot of the time it's when they're competing against each other where I believe from what I've heard, Rudy Gobert wasn't blocking shots. So Kyle Anderson's told him, why don't you block some shots? But there was a couple other words in there. And Rudy Gobert's gone back and said, why don't you get some effing rebounds? And then, Rudy Gobert's throwing a punch at him. And then he's been kicked out by his own team and getting suspended for a week. McDaniels has gone into the room and punched something and broken his hand. And they're in the play-in tournament. So, I think they're done, the Timberwolves.
It's a pretty average look, isn't it, when you've got your teammate actually physically trying to go after one of your other teammates. Like, imagine standing there just watching that unfold. You'd be like, have you
ever seen a teammates go at each other? And obviously, you don't have to name names, but like seen them.
Yeah, I've seen. We've had a couple of like preseason scratchies where you're having a crack at each other, and there's a couple of wrestles involved in the play, but none of them have ended up in throwing fists. Like even when Draymond and Jordan Poole
Yeah.
when they went to town.
Yeah, well, it shows the difference between obviously, well, I just think Australian sport and then obviously the US sports over there. It's obviously, they're a lot more out there, the Americans, and which we love to see because it brings a lot of personality to our game, to their game, where they're a lot more out there and they're open about their feelings and about being the best player and this and that. Where here, it's not really, it's kind of frowned upon. Where it's all about team and this and that. So yeah, it doesn't really surprise me that it happens over there. But yeah, the fact that they threw fists through that Rudy Gobert actually threw a fist, that surprised me a little bit, considering how important he is as a not only a player but as a leader for his team because they need him. So I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised that there was a bit of a scuffle on the bench because it happens all the time.
It's going to be awesome. I feel like I looked at the schedule actually just before. And to see Kawhi and KD facing off again in the playoffs is going to be pretty cool, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I think the beauty of KD coming to the West was the fact that they were able to potentially play against Kawhi, which he is obviously, potentially play against LeBron if he gets the chance later down the playoffs. Because these guys that definitely you're only 26, I'm 30, so these guys that I were watched when I was 17, 18. They're all getting older and they're coming towards their ends. KD and Kawhi and LeBron and Paul George, Chris Paul, Damian Lillard, all these guys. So the fact that we get to see them come up against each other, and KD's obviously my favourite player, and I think he's the most important player and the best player in the league, and I'll stick by that. I think it's going to be a great matchup, so I'm keen to see how they go. Suns are my pick for the championship. Yeah. So we'll be
you said that on the potty
weekly. Yep. Yours is Denver?
Just a roughie in Denver, yeah.
Who do you think in the East? So I think it'll be Milwaukee, Boston, and I think Milwaukee will beat Boston. So
Boston.
Phoenix. Oh yeah. It'll be good. My manager Timmy Hayes was going to go do the Boston Marathon. So good luck, Timmy. He loves doing his marathon, so I'm excited for him. But he's actually going to go to the Boston first final, which I'm that jealous
Really?
about.
That's sick.
Yeah.
That is sick. Are you a fan of the play-in tournament?
It's a hard one. I wasn't initially, but I kind of don't mind it. I don't mind it. It adds a little bit more excitement. There's a little bit more importance come to the last couple of days. I think that's why they did it. So teams don't tank, although the Mavericks seem to tank, which is just blows my mind.
They're in all sorts.
Aren't they ever? Two of the best players in the world on their team, and oh wow. But anyway, and secondly, I think it keeps relevance. There's still relevance to the teams that are fighting for 7th and 8th, which makes the last week or so of the regular season, still watchable because in years gone by when the top 8 set, the bottom 8, it's just the games are just unentertaining. They're just boring. So I don't mind it. What about you?
Yeah, I don't mind it either. I think it's good for the game, to be honest. It's actually happening in the VFL this year.
Is it?
It's happening in the VFL, I'm fairly sure. There's going to be like a wild card round.
Wow.
To play in the finals.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we'll see how it goes with footy.
No. I wouldn't. If the question was towards footy, I wouldn't rate it. No. You?
Don't know. Don't know how I'd feel.
Nah, because you know why? It's an extra game, and our game is demanding as it is. Imagine having to play an extra game and then do all that work to not even make the finals. Like it's kind of, don't do it.
All right, no, we'll say no. But NBA, yes. Who's your tip to go through in the 7th v 8th seed matches?
Well, I think Miami definitely go in. I feel like
agreed.
They're Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, too important. Kevin Love. I think the Lakers will beat the Timberwolves. We spoke about that earlier with the Timberwolves. The Lakers with LeBron, but then I think the Lakers will lose in the first round.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, I don't. I think they're going to win that first round,
mate. So they'll probably the winner of that game ends up 7th. So they play 2nd, which is the Grizzlies. Yep. And I Oh, Dylan Brooks matchup would be extremely exciting against LeBron. That'd be so good. But no, I don't think the Lakers beat. I don't think they beat any team in the playoffs. Honestly.
All right, we'll revisit. We'll revisit in a couple of weeks.
Can't wait. I think
Ninth.
I think Thunder will lose, unfortunately, because I love watching them play. Pelicans, I think, will end up winning. They'll finish 8th, and I think they'll probably get swept in the first round. And then I think Toronto will beat the Bulls, and probably Toronto will play Atlanta, and then I think Atlanta wins. So the 9th and 10th is kind of pointless because I don't think either of those two teams are going to make it. Yeah, we'll see. We'll re-see it next week. What about a really cool little fun fact about Mikal Bridges? And this is even more impressive because he was traded this year from obviously Phoenix to Brooklyn. His consecutive games, he's at 392.
That's
just unbelievable. He hasn't missed since he debuted.
It's crazy to think that there was a trade involved in that too. Like, he's obviously got traded, and I know we all saw that it was like midnight or something when he got traded. So he's in bed, asleep.
Yeah.
And then he's got on a plane the next day to travel to Brooklyn and play. Do you think that he knows that stat and he's like, I can't let this go?
Yep.
And so when he got traded, he was like, I need to keep this going, so I need to get there ASAP.
I do think that, yep. When you're a player, as much as you say you don't know, you do know. What's even more impressive is he's the first player since 2014-15, Josh Smith, to play 83 games in a regular season. So, there's obviously 82 games in a regular season. So he's gotten traded from Phoenix to Brooklyn. They've got 2 games behind the schedule, and he's played 83 games for the season. Oh, that's just funny. It's funny how that sport works. But no, it's pretty crazy. 392 and he's still going. I can't see him, knock on wood, can't see him missing anytime soon.
Who's the most durable athlete you've ever played with?
Oh, it's a pretty easy answer for me. Jack Crisp. I obviously moved there in 2016. And mate, he hasn't missed. He still hasn't missed, which is incredible to think because how demanding our game is. What about you?
It's probably got to come down to either Bonte or Jack McRae. I feel like those two blokes never miss. They never miss.
Yes. Jack's probably right up there as well. Because
Jacko would be right up there. Very, very impressive thing to have is that durability.
Yeah. Anything else about the NBA? Move on to the NBA. We're done with that. We're done. The only thing I want to mention about the NFL, only one thing is Lamar Jackson, OBJ.
Oh, yes. Yes, let's talk about that quickly, real quick.
OBJ obviously staying.
It's awesome. It's cool. I think it's obviously something that they said to Lamar. They were like, if we get OBJ, will you stay?
Yeah, well, yes. I feel like it's obviously going to be a money and a length issue. But regardless, Lamar Jackson's going to get paid no matter what. And if it's, $25 million instead of $30 million, I don't think you're going to complain too much, are you?
Nah. Well, we wouldn't.
No, we wouldn't. But no, it's exciting. It's exciting for come later on in the year when we're talking NFL previews and NFL fantasy. But no, we're done. We're done with that. We want to finish off soon, but we wanted to do a good service to our fans that listen in and they ask questions. We want to answer a couple of questions that have been sent in, obviously to our potty, and we thank our fans that listen and watch us each week. You got the questions, mate, don't you?
Absolutely. I've got the questions, mate. So the first one is, if you could take 2 players from each of your teams, who would you take? So you've got to choose 2 players from my team. Is that how it works? Yep. And then I pick 2 players from your team.
Okay, so obviously you can't choose you.
Can't choose
I'll
me.
Disregard that. I'm going to say Harrison Andrews.
Harris Andrews, yep.
Yep, sorry. Is it not Harrison? Sorry. Andrews. Harris. I think, he's just the gun. He's a very, very good defender. It took 16 intercept marks against us, I think. And I'd probably choose Charlie Cameron. Although the way Cam Rayner played on the weekend, he'd be right up there as well. So I'm going to go with Andrews and Cameron. What about you?
I'm going to go with one bloke you just talked about, Aaron Norton, but I'm going to swing him back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to have him as the intercept defender that he got drafted as.
Yep.
And I'll take Big Chili English as a backup ruck
He's flying at
and
the
playing
moment.
forward.
Two good players.
Question 2. Are they scrunches or folders?
Scrunches.
I'm a folder.
No, I got no time to fold. How are you folding? Because let's be honest, the only reason we sit on the toilet for that long, or from the reason why we're pretty much on there, is to chill on our phones. How have you got time to sit on your phone and fold?
Easily, mate. It's simple. You just sit in there and you just fold it and then do the job. Folding every day of the week. What 3 people, dead or alive, would you invite to a dinner party?
Oh, mine's easy. So mine's The Rock. I love The Rock. Michael Jordan. Love Michael Jordan. And Kevin Durant, I want to say, because I just love him as the basketball player. He's my favorite. But I wouldn't have him because I just would love to meet LeBron James over Kevin Durant, although Durant's my favorite. So I'd say LeBron, MJ, and The Rock. What about you?
I'm going to say Tom Brady. I'm going to say LeBron too, because I just think that'd be a pretty cool moment. And Kobe Bryant.
Yes, it's another one. R.I.P. R.I.P. to one of the GOATs.
Next question. At what age did you think you could make it to the AFL?
Oh, when I was 6, when I first kicked the footy. Nah, that's definitely a no. No way. You should have seen me when I first played. I was terrible. Honestly, I think when I thought to commit to try and make it, I was probably 15 when I was a part of the Dandenong Stingrays program. And then, I was fortunate enough to then make the 15s program, which then makes the Vic Country squad. So around that time, I thought, okay, well, if I have a crack here, then, hopefully I get drafted.
Yeah,
you?
I'm exactly the same, mate. I feel like when I made the under 15 schoolboys, which is Vic Country, that was when I was like, oh yeah, maybe I could continue on with this and make the AFL. It's a good question. Couple more. Who's the most annoying player at your club?
Leify Vandermeer, because he says it how it is sometimes, and sometimes not. Sorry,
it's ruthless.
Sorry, he says it how it is all the time, not sometimes, all the time, and regardless of how you're feeling or what's going on in the footy world or at the footy club, he would just say it, and sometimes it's just unnecessary. So I'm going to say Leify, but that's also why I love him so very much.
I think Darcy Wilmot's a very similar person to what Leify is. He just says things how it is and calls things out. There's actually a funny story. We were watching a clip, like I say, a pumped up video, and the other day, and he just had a tackle. It was actually on Crosby. He had a tackle on Crosby in the pump up clip, and he stood up in the meeting and just yelled. He was like, "Come on, boys!" Just randomly, just in the meeting, everyone's quiet, dead quiet, and he just got up and about. It was so funny. It's something Leify would do. Just be so fired up that he would just say something.
Absolutely,
it was so good. But like you said, that's why we love him too. Next question: what challenges do you guys face on and off the field? P.S. I love you both.
Oh, I love you too. That's such a hard question because there's a lot of challenges. I think the number one thing in season definitely would be, depending on if you're injured or not. So I'm going to say if you're not injured. So if you're injured, obviously that's probably the biggest challenge to overcome that and get back out there. But I think week to week when you're playing, I think the way your moods and the way the vibe is at the club and whatnot can fluctuate depending on how you're going. And unfortunately, we don't want it to be like that. But that's just how footy clubs are because we're clearly judged on wins and losses. And, when we're not going well, times can be hard because, you potentially might think, do we need to reinvent the wheel here? Do we need to change things up because it's not working? We've trained for, 4 months in the preseason and we're not going well. What's going on? Do we need to change things? Which can be hard because if that is the case, it obviously has to happen quick, smart, because we've got 4 or 5 days to prepare for a new opposition. So I think that side of things can be extremely challenging. But I think at the end of the day, it could also be really rewarding because, we know that, if we stick fat at what, we believe works for us, most of the time it comes to fruition and, we can achieve good things as a footy team. But I think, they're probably the most challenging things. What about yourself?
Yeah, I agree. I agree with everything you just said. The mental roller coaster that you ride throughout the season is very difficult. And also, I think another thing that we probably both would struggle with at times is living away from the girls. And that's probably one. When you come home after a loss or whatever it might be struggling mentally and, you need someone to come home and talk to and, be embraced by. It's tough at times to obviously have the girls interstate. So little shout out to the girls for all the support they give us from afar. But obviously it's a tough one at times.
Totally agree, mate. You nailed that one.
That's it, though. That's the end of the podcast. We'll conclude it there and thank everyone again for listening to the Ads and Dunks podcast, proudly brought to you by the Ausmerican Aces. As always, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to all our channels, follow all social media accounts so that you don't miss a single thing of the Ads and Dunks podcast. So thanks again, and we will see you all again next week. Looking forward to it, Adsy. Thanks, mate.
Love it. Well done, mate.